Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We are doing a little exercise called Purpose February. And every day this month, I am coming to you with a video on how to determine the answer to the question, what am I here to do? So let's get started with today's. We're talking about patterns. The patterns of your life will determine your purpose, and if you are able to they determine your purpose one way or the other. So in a negative way, in the sense that if you keep repeating patterns, you are not going to break free and be able to step into your destiny, right? But on the other hand, if you're able to figure out what those patterns are, you're going to actually be shown exactly the things that you're supposed to have authority over, that you are supposed to help change in other people's lives, give other people a way to walk out of those patterns and into their purpose. So the patterns of your life will determine your purpose. They will also determine whether or not you are able to step into your purpose and maintain it. So we've done a lot with your schedule work this month. So in other words, I want to know exactly where you're spending your time. We've talked about sowing your time. We talked about that on day 10. And today we're talking about your time in terms of patterns, the types of patterns that you're creating, and how your mindset needs to come into alignment with your patterns. In other words, if you can look at your sheet and say, okay, I'm sowing an awful lot of time into video games, into my TV time, you should not be expecting to reap something from those areas. In other words, you've sown time into that area, but unless this was an educational program, unless this was a how-to on how to get closer or closer into your purpose or a skill set that you need, you should be aware that that's where you have sown your time. Okay, if you have sown your time into other unhealthy habits, you should be expecting to get a harvest on that. The opposite is also quite true, right? If you can take a look at your life and where you spend most of your time, and you can say, no, I get up and I spend time with the Lord. I'm in my Bible. Okay, you will have a spiritual inheritance because of that you have sown. If you get up every day and you make yourself a healthy breakfast, you go to the gym, you should expect to have health coming from your body because you are sowing into it over and over again. A lot of people think, I did it one time. Okay, I read a book. I went to the sermon. I listened to this sermon. I went to this conference. I cut off that one toxic friend. But they don't understand that this is a pattern that they need to establish. They need to establish the pattern of saying yes to things that are for them, no to things that are not for them, and constantly putting themselves closer and establishing a pattern of behavior. This is how reaping and sowing works. It isn't one time, usually. I mean, there are some drastic situations, like, for example, if you commit a crime and you get caught, even if it was one time, you're reaping what you sowed in that one instance, right? So I need you to understand that your purpose needs a strong foundation. And for that reason, it is not based off of what you do one time. It's based off of what you do consistently and constantly. So this is how patterns are formed. So for today's exercise, I want you to take a 30,000 foot view on your life. Okay, we did kind of the day by day, the minute by minute plan with your day one activity, and kind of did the same thing with your day 10, right? We saw, okay, X amount of minutes throughout the day, I sow into developing my mind by listening to a podcast or a sermon or some type of instructional message, right? And then we kind of chunked our time out. This is how much time I spend sowing into my family life. This is how much time I spend sowing into my career life, whatever it was, right? That's what we did on day 10. And by the way, these videos, you can go back and watch them. Today, we're taking an even bigger viewpoint. We're having a higher vantage point than even that. And we are looking at the type of patterns, and not just in your life. We want to take a look at what other patterns have been established in your life from generations ago. Maybe this is for an example. If your mom was an excellent crafts person, like she did quilting or she did some type of arts and crafts, right? And you also have that talent. You need to understand your bloodline has that ability, has that craft built into its DNA. Okay. And so when you can see, like, this is something that's a pattern that I can definitely use, I can definitely build, I can definitely take to the next level. You want to know that. And for the negative things as well. If your dad had a short temper, if you know that you also are prone to having a short temper, you need to look at the patterns, not just in where you're spending your time, but in also your behavior. How is your personality lining up and supporting? How is your character being formed to support your purpose? So you want to know from the 30,000 foot viewpoint, what are the patterns in my life? I have another video that I did just on patterns if you're having a hard time understanding what this concept is. And if you don't understand fully the principle of reaping and sowing, go check out that video. It's a good video that talks to you in more detail about patterns and how they're established and things like that and why they carry so much authority. But today, your exercise is going to be doing this. You know, are you joyful? Do you have a servant's heart? Do you have good people skills? How was this developed? You want to see the pattern in your life, the thread that has been being built in every single situation, circumstance, regardless of the physical things that were happening. What was happening inside of you? Did you get better at handling conflict? Did you get better at something that you can use, a skill set that you can use? You just want to take an inventory. We're going to use all of these things later on in this month. But I do want you to take a look at what you do consistently. So what do you consistently think about? What do you consistently, who do you consistently hang around with? You know, those types of things that you do consistently are the things that are establishing patterns. So that is your homework for today. If you missed my podcast yesterday, I released a guided meditation. You can go check that out. The link to it is in the description of this video already. And if you want to have if you want other meditations that you can download, they come in an ebook form as well, then you can check that out on my website. I think that's it. I will see you guys tomorrow for another video having to do with your purpose. Have a good Saturday.